The new me is really still the real me. I swear you gotta feel me before you try and feel me. They gotta make the choices.
She insinuates that Erika might be a lesbian who in the past has come on to children.
Erika Kirk is catching serious heat right now, and this new wave of backlash is coming from a direction nobody really expected. It is not the usual critics or random online chatter this time. It feels way more personal. And people are locked in trying to figure out what is really going on behind the scenes. A former partner has stepped forward with some heavy claims, saying Erika got close to her, built trust, and then suddenly cut her off the moment things stopped benefiting her. That alone would spark talk. But here is the twist that has everyone doing a double take. The person speaking out is a woman. That detail is shifting the whole vibe of the conversation in a big way. And people are reacting fast. That one fact hits different because Erika Kirk has spent years shaping a very specific image. Her whole brand has been built around faith, purity, traditional relationships, and that polished conservative Christian lifestyle she promotes so strongly. Everything about her public identity has been tight, intentional, and consistent. Until now. So when this former partner drops a story that clashes hard with that image, and old clips and posts start popping up that seem to back it up, the tone online changes quick. People are no longer just curious. They are asking sharp, direct questions, and they are not letting this slide easily at all. And it is not just one random clip people are talking about. This is starting to look like a full pattern. Multiple old videos are popping back up, past social media interactions are being picked apart, timelines are being lined up, and now there is a direct claim from someone who says she personally experienced a side of Erika Kirk that the public has never seen before. Each piece by itself might have an explanation, sure, but when you stack everything together and compare it to the image Erika pushes today, the difference starts to look way too big to brush off. The version of her from back then and the version she presents now do not line up cleanly, and people online are noticing fast. The reaction has shifted in a real way, and it is getting more intense by the minute. What started as simple curiosity has now turned into real skepticism. The main question driving all of this is actually very direct. How much of Erika Kirk's image is real, and how much of it is carefully crafted for the audience watching her today? That question is not going away anytime soon. So let's get into the resurfaced clip that really pushed this situation into overdrive.
I talked to God, like I said, the same way. God use me, God heal my heart. You know my pain, you know the depths of my pain.
Because the context behind it matters just as much as what is actually shown. A video from 2018 is making rounds again. Back when Erika was still going by Erika Fran, and people are saying it feels completely different from how she presents herself now. In the clip, she is wearing a bathrobe, dancing alongside her roommate at the time, Sydney Stahl, who was also a former Miss North Carolina, USA. The two were living together in New York City, and by multiple accounts, they were very close during that period. Reports say they even shared a bed while living together, which on its own is not unusual at all. Two young women being close friends and sharing space in New York City is completely normal. The video by itself might not have raised many eyebrows. But when people started digging into the Instagram interactions between Erika and Sydney from that same time, that is when things really started to feel different. Suddenly, people were not just watching, they were analyzing closely and questioning what the dynamic between them actually looked like. On one of Erika's modeling photos, Sydney dropped a comment saying, "Are you an alien? Because your face is out of this world." And Erika fired back with, "You can always ride my spaceship." Now that exchange is getting a lot of attention because people are saying it does not sound like typical casual joking between roommates, especially when you compare it to the values Erika now speaks about so openly, like modesty, restraint, and keeping things respectful in relationships. And that was not the only moment people are pointing to. There was another comment, this time under a photo of Erika in a bathtub. Sydney wrote, "Rub-a-dub-dub, I'd like to be that tub." That line is now being labeled as clearly suggestive by a lot of viewers. What is making people look twice is not just the comment itself, but Erika's reaction back then, which came off as playful and welcoming. instead of setting any kind of clear boundary, the way her current image might lead people to expect. That contrast is exactly what people are zeroing in on right now. They are saying this shows a noticeable gap between how Erika acted in 2018 and how she presents herself today. And that leads to the bigger question that keeps popping up everywhere online. Why does any of this actually matter? For a lot of people following this situation, the answer is tied directly to what Erika has built her entire public identity on. When someone promotes a very specific set of beliefs and lifestyle standards, moments like these start to carry a lot more weight. And that is why this conversation is not slowing down anytime soon. If Erika had always presented herself as someone with a mixed background, a more open past, and a flexible identity, these resurfaced moments probably would not be hitting this hard. People would just see it as part of her story and move on. But that is not how she built her image at all. And that is why the situation feels so charged right now. Her brand has been rooted in faith, purity, traditional values, and the idea that her life actually reflects everything she promotes online. That is the foundation. And it is exactly why these clips and comments are landing so differently. When something shows up that seems to contradict that image, it does not just feel like random old content. It feels personal to the audience that believed in what she was presenting. And this is no longer about just one video or a couple of comments people dug up. Viewers are now pointing to what they see as a bigger pattern, a clear shift between who Erika appeared to be before stepping into Charlie Kirk's world and who she shows herself to be now. That contrast is getting harder for people to ignore. And the more they look, the more questions start stacking up. Because once people notice a pattern like this, the next question comes fast and it hits harder. If these parts of her past do not line up with what she promotes today, what else might not line up either? That is the thought that keeps spreading across comment sections. And it is not slowing down. Then there is the Amazing Race audition tape, which is now circulating right alongside everything else and adding even more tension to the situation. In that clip, filmed with her then-boyfriend JT Massey, Erika comes across very open about using her looks and personality to move forward. She is noticeably flirtatious on camera, and people are now putting that side of her directly next to her current messaging about modesty and traditional femininity. Someone even dropped a comment about it that is now getting attention too. There is also a circulating clip that has been shared everywhere, and it is adding even more pressure to the situation. In it, someone directly questions whether Erika had been truthful about saving herself for marriage. And they tie that question to a moment during a public appearance with Charlie where she suddenly looked visibly uncomfortable when the topic came up on stage. That moment is now being replayed over and over. But this time people are looking at it with a completely different perspective. What once may have come across as a shy or emotional reaction is now being interpreted by some viewers as something deeper. They are saying it looks like the reaction of someone caught off guard, especially if the answer behind the scenes does not match what the audience has been led to believe. Then there is the timeline issue, which keeps getting brought up alongside that clip and is raising even more eyebrows. Erika has publicly said that she did not date anyone for 5 years before meeting Charlie Kirk. But the audition tape people are pointing to seems to fall right in the middle of that same period, and in the footage, she is clearly shown in a relationship. That creates another moment where her public statements and what people believe they are seeing do not fully line up. And now that viewers have already noticed multiple timeline inconsistencies across different situations, this one is not being treated like a small mix-up. Instead, it is being grouped into what many are calling a bigger pattern that keeps building. Now the conversation shifts again, because there are more serious allegations being discussed, and those are the ones people are saying need to be approached with extra care and clarity. Here are also claims being spread online that reference alleged messages from 2014 involving a 15-year-old, and this is where the situation becomes a lot more serious and sensitive. People are talking about it heavily, but it is important to handle this part carefully and not jump to conclusions. Based on what is being circulated, the allegation suggests that Erika made comments about the teenager's appearance and mentioned possibly connecting them with a photographer. These are heavy claims, but here's the key point. They have not been verified. There is no confirmed documentation that has been independently authenticated, and that matters a lot when discussing something this serious. That distinction cannot be ignored. Unverified allegations are not the same as proven facts, and treating them like they are can lead to real harm. At the same time, the reason these claims are not being instantly dismissed by everyone comes down to the bigger picture people are already looking at. When an audience believes they have seen multiple inconsistencies, when old content keeps resurfacing that seems to clash with a public image, and when new claims start appearing from different directions, people naturally become more skeptical. That does not prove the allegations, but it does explain why more people are paying close attention and asking tougher questions as everything continues to unfold. That is not how justice is supposed to work. It is more a reflection of how much trust has already been worn down over time. When people see repeated contradictions, their willingness to give the benefit of the doubt starts to shrink fast. And that shift is playing a huge role in how every new claim is being received right now. There are also ongoing online claims saying Erika is banned from Romania, with some commentators trying to link that idea to Epstein-related networks. That specific claim has not been independently confirmed, but it keeps spreading because it ties into a bigger web of connections people have been talking about for months now. Names, places, and past associations are all being pulled together in ways that are making the conversation even more intense. Some of the locations and connections people keep bringing up include places like Crosby Street Bar, which appeared in Epstein-related discussions, as well as links to the Corcoran Group. On top of that, people are pointing to patterns in Erika's past associations during certain periods, saying they overlap with individuals and locations that others have flagged as noteworthy. Whether meaningful or coincidental, this is the kind of material fueling ongoing debates across multiple platforms. Then the focus shifts again, this time to her behavior after Charlie's death, which has become one of the most talked about parts of this entire situation. At first, many people showed her support and sympathy, but over time, some of that support started to fade as certain moments did not sit right with viewers. One of the biggest hits to her public image came from a leaked Zoom call, where Erika is allegedly heard talking about Charlie's memorial in a way that sounded more like a major event rollout than a personal loss. Describing it as the event of the century, while focusing heavily on merchandise sales and audience numbers, caught a lot of people off guard and sparked serious backlash. For many, that framing felt completely out of sync with what they would expect from someone grieving such a deep loss. And as if that was not enough, there were also claims that before appearing at certain events during that time, Erika used tear-inducing solutions to make herself appear more emotional on camera. These claims are not verified, but they have still added another layer of controversy to an already intense situation. That specific claim still has not been backed by direct evidence, but the reason it keeps popping up across different conversations is because it seems to strike a nerve with a lot of people watching. Many viewers who followed Erika's public appearances during that time have said her emotional moments felt more rehearsed than natural, more like a performance than something raw and unfiltered. Then came another decision that sparked immediate backlash. Erika chose to recreate the physical setup connected to the location of Charlie's death and allowed attendees to take photos there. That move hit people hard, especially those who have experienced real loss themselves. Many spoke out, saying it felt deeply inappropriate and uncomfortable to turn something so tragic into a photo moment. Critics did not hold back on this one. They argued that creating a stage photo opportunity tied to a violent death does not come across as genuine grief. Instead, they said it feels more like controlling and shaping a public narrative around the tragedy, turning it into something structured and presented rather than something personal and painful. And it did not stop there. The dramatic event entrances, complete with music, lighting, and carefully planned presentation, added even more to that growing perception. People started saying it all looked too polished, too intentional, like they were watching a production instead of someone processing a real loss. A lot of viewers described feeling genuinely uncomfortable watching those moments, saying the tone just did not match what they would expect from someone who had recently lost a spouse. Even comedian Zuki stepped in with a skit about Erika Kirk, and the public reaction to that moment revealed something big about how people are currently viewing this entire situation. Zuki's skit did not just stay in comedy circles. It spread fast across social media, and the reaction to it said a lot more than the joke itself. Some people laughed, some people pushed back, but a huge number of viewers focused on one thing: how easy it was to parody Erika's public image right now. When a situation reaches the point where it can be turned into a viral skit that people instantly recognize, it usually means the narrative has already taken a strong hold. What really stood out was how divided the responses were. On one side, you had people saying the skit was disrespectful and went too far, especially given the circumstances. But on the other side, many were saying the satire only worked because it reflected behavior they had already been questioning. That split reaction shows just how fractured public opinion has become. And that is where things get even more complicated. Because this is no longer just about isolated clips, comments, or allegations. It is about perception stacking on top of perception. Every new moment, whether confirmed, questioned, or completely unverified, is being added into one growing storyline that people are building in real time. The challenge for Erika now is not just addressing one claim or clearing up one misunderstanding. It is dealing with a situation where trust has been chipped away piece by piece, and where even neutral actions are being viewed through a lens of suspicion. Right now, the conversation is not slowing down. It is expanding. And people are watching closely to see what comes next. And now, everything is reaching a point where the conversation is bigger than any single claim or moment. What people are really debating at this stage is trust, how it is built, how it is maintained, and how quickly it can fall apart when too many questions start piling up at once. Because when an audience starts to feel like they have been shown a version of someone that does not fully match reality, the reaction is rarely calm. It turns into deep scrutiny, constant fact-checking, and a wave of people going back through old content, looking for anything that either confirms or challenges the image they were given. For Erika, this means every past clip, every statement, and every interaction is now being re-examined under a microscope. And the more people dig, the more they feel like they are finding inconsistencies, whether big or small. That process feeds itself, creating even more attention and even more discussion with each new discovery. At the same time, there are still supporters who argue that this level of scrutiny has gone too far. They say people are connecting dots that may not actually belong together and turning speculation into something that feels like fact. That tension between skepticism and support is what is keeping the situation so active online right now. What happens next will likely depend on whether clear answers are given or if the silence continues. Because in situations like this, when questions keep building and no resolution is in sight, the narrative does not just fade away. It grows louder, sharper, and much harder to control. At this point, everything around Erika Kirk has turned into something much bigger than just a few resurfaced clips or online debates. It is now a full-blown conversation about image, authenticity, and whether the person people thought they were watching is actually the same person behind the scenes. The pressure is not just coming from critics anymore either. It is coming from all sides. Longtime followers, casual viewers, and even people who once defended her are now stepping back and rethinking everything they have seen. That kind of shift does not happen overnight, and it definitely does not happen without a reason. What makes this situation so intense is how many layers there are. You have old content resurfacing, conflicting timelines, unverified but serious claims, and public behavior that people keep analyzing from every angle. All of it combined has created a situation where the questions are not slowing down. They are multiplying. At the end of the day, people are not just looking for explanations, they are looking for consistency. They want to understand what is real, what has changed, and whether the image being presented now can actually hold up under this level of scrutiny. Until those questions are clearly addressed, This conversation is not going anywhere. Now, I want to hear what you think about all of this. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this situation has a lot of different angles, and people are seeing it very differently. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, so more people can join the conversation and stay updated on everything unfolding next.